Tonight, asking God for your blessing. Give us, Lord, wisdom and understanding, that what we hear tonight will be a blessing unto us, and we will go out from here changed with a new perspective and new focus, for we have prayed in Jesus' name. Amen. Once again, I welcome you to this evening's program, believing that the Lord has blessed and been with each and every one of us all through the hours of the Sabbath. Tonight, in Pioneer Square, we shall take our Bible reading from the book of Psalm 37, verses 23 to 24. Psalm 37, 23 to 24 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hands." Amen. And that brings us to the title of our message for today, which I've captioned "The Blessed Side of Failure." The blessed side of failure. Tonight we will learn that we are not necessarily failures when we fail. And the fact that you have failed does not mean that you cannot rise. Failure is the offspring of mistakes made out of carelessness. Sometimes we make mistakes because we are careless. We did not pay enough attention. We did something wrong. Sometimes we also have experienced failure, which comes through mistakes that we make because we were trying to be so careful not to make mistakes. When you are too careful not to make mistakes, you actually make mistakes. And tonight, I stand here to tell you that never allow the thought of making mistakes, don't allow it to scare you from making one. Too many times we think when we make mistakes that we are not actually on the right track. Making mistakes can be a blessing or a teacher after all. That is, when you make mistakes, it might actually turn out to be a blessing. It could be that you are being taught what to do and how to move on. Show me a man who has never made mistakes, and I will show you a man who is poor in experience. Take your time, think deep, ask questions in your mind. Look at every successful man that you have met or woman. Sit with them, share with them, and you will find out that these are people who have made mistakes at one point or the other. If you make mistakes, it does not mean that you cannot rise. Mistakes, I believe, helps us to reflect, and it also helps us to bounce back. So, if you make mistakes, I say rejoice, because if nothing else, making mistakes helps you to understand that you are human. And as human beings, once in a while, we do make mistakes. And you should understand that mistakes do not determine the end of your life. If you have ever dreamt of being successful, if you are dreaming of being successful, then mistakes might be the nuggets you require to step up to stardom. Because it's only as you make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes that you actually can climb up and make something out of the mistakes that you have made. Many times we think making mistakes shows that we are weaklings. and we flog ourselves so bad. About a week ago, I was talking with one of my students. She was at 400 level, and they were talking generally about runs that students make. And so I asked her, and I said, so tell me, where are you going this weekend? Are you out for some runs? She said, no, I don't do any runs. I said, why? And she said, there's just no reason for me to do any runs. She said, muscle, I'm not ready to put myself in any form of jeopardy and then make my life bitter. I said, that sounds like, she said, I'm not ready for any mistakes. I want to sit down and face my books and so on. And I laughed. And I said, perhaps you need to look at it from another perspective. The fact that you go into a relationship does not necessarily mean that you should be compromised. And I told her, I said, in life, in relationships, to a very large extent, except you are stupid, when you court or date somebody as a lady, you call the shots. I said, the man does not necessarily have full control until maybe when you are married. I said, so in a relationship, you have the right to call the shots. You have the right to say, this is what I can take, this is what I can't take. If the person likes you, you find him or her falling in line with what you have talked about. If you will not comply, then you are free to move on. If you do not compromise yourself, there is nothing wrong in you starting a relationship. All I'm trying to say is that many times because of fear, the fear of if I do this, I will make a mistake. I might make a mistake. If I go into this business, I might not succeed. If I take this course, I might not do well in it. Fear has crippled a lot of people. The fear of not wanting to make any mistakes at all has drawn some of us even into the courses that we are taking right now, as against what we would have loved to study. So, on the contrary, I say the mistakes that we make in the past that plunged us into the depth of horrid failure might just be the ladder that will take us to the altitude of sustainable success. You know, it's not every time that you do something and you are successful that you can sustain it. But the man who has gone into business at some point and did not actually do well and had to struggle to build that business up, when things go rosy once again and the business flourishes, he takes his time, he minds how he spends, he takes care of everything that concerns the business, ensuring that his business does not run down a second time. That is how to sustain success. And he would have been doing that based on the experience that he had in the past. Sometimes on the spiritual realm, we believe that failure, if you fail, is an indication that God is not with you. If you fail, it's an indication that you are not a child of God. Some folks even think that it means I don't know God, because too many times we hear teachings and thoughts that go along the line that if you are born again, if you are a child of God, you cannot make mistakes. How true is that? If you look at the text that we read tonight, Psalm 37, the psalmist says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Meaning that if you are born again, you are a child of God, God orders your steps. Fine and very direct. And the Lord delights in the way of a good man. But then he goes on to say, though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. Which means that it is possible for us to make mistakes. It is possible for us to have a downfall at one point or the other. He says he won't be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. What we should trust in is the fact that God has promised to sustain us. So if you do not give up, you will actually succeed. Your experience of failure might just be God's way of saying, wait, I got some better things for you. No, sometimes we ask God, God, I need this, and He doesn't answer. Sometimes we go ahead and we invest our monies on certain projects that we think is the best thing that we need at that time. Sometimes it does not flourish. It doesn't go the way we were expecting. It could be God saying, wait, better days are ahead. Wait, not now. Wait, when this time comes, you better be able to manage it. John Mason says, failure may look like a fact, but it's only an opinion. Successful people believe that mistakes are just feedbacks. That is, you make a mistake is a feedback from an action that you took. And then if you go through the feedback, it begins to tell you what you didn't do well and how you're supposed to go about it. Failure and success are concepts that we carry in our minds. Remember, it is not how far you fall, but how high you bounce that makes all the difference. Falling, making a mistake, failing a course, going through some terrible experiences is not what counts. It is how you are able to make it, how you are able to bounce back after the fall that counts. The communication line opened between the failure we experience and the lessons garnered helps to establish a golden book of rules that tomorrow guides our feet from repeating yesterday's mistakes. That is, tomorrow you do not repeat the mistakes of yesterday because the experiences of yesterday begins to guide you step by step. And this becomes very important for us as students as you come into school, especially for those of us who are maybe in our second, third, fourth, or fifth year, as it were. There are experiences you've had in your first year, second year, third year, wherever you are right now. If you are not new in Babcock, you've had experiences. Even for those of us who have come in, I'm sure you must have written 1 or 2 quizzes and tests. If you did not start reading almost immediately, and you didn't do well in the quizzes you have written, then I think it is only wise that you learn, because of the mistakes of not reading on time, you now begin to apply your mind and concentrate on your studies. What this means is that anyone who is wise does not repeat the same mistakes all over again. To not make mistakes at all can be very dangerous. When you are too careful, I don't want to make mistakes, I don't want to make mistakes, you might actually end up making the greatest mistake of your life. So sometimes when mistakes come, it will be a blessing. Theodore Roosevelt said, far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much because they live in the great twilight that knows not victory or defeat. When you try great things, you might make mistakes. If you keep on at it, you will succeed. That's the whole essence. John Mason on his part says, one of the riskiest things you can do in life is to take too many precautions and never have any failure or mistakes. Failure, he said, is the opportunity to start more intelligently. He said, you are far better if you tried something and failed than to try hard to do nothing and succeed. If you try hard and do nothing, you succeed. It means somebody just put you in a place. You've never made mistakes. They just got you a job. You don't even know how to do it. And then you can be sure failure will come at the end of the day. The one who has made no mistakes is lazy and must be, like Mason said, awfully tired of doing nothing. It's because you do not do anything. That's why you don't make mistakes. Vernon Sanders observes experience is a hard teacher. Because she first gives the test and then the lesson comes afterwards. That's how experience deals with us. And they say, how did you do this? They say, oh, from experience, I was able to do this or that. Success, Mason said, consists of getting up just one time, more than you fall down. Ed Cole says, you don't drown by falling into the water. You drown by staying there. If you fall into the water, you decide to climb out, you will. You choose to swim, you will not drown. But if you stay there, then you will be dead. Solomon says in Proverbs 28:13 that a man who refuses to admit his mistakes can never be successful. But if he confesses and forsakes them, he gets another chance. When we make mistakes, it's an opportunity to have another chance, to start better, to try it out better, and we'll get results. Remember that no dream dies because you failed. Our dreams die because we choose not to rise from our failure. Mason says the best way to go on after a failure is to learn the lesson from that failure and forget the details. Then you move on. Failure can either become a weight to you and you become stagnated, or it can otherwise give you wings that will make you fly. Say, oh, how come he or she has excelled so triumphantly? Because he or she made a mistake in the past, learned from it, and then you can shoot up and shoot forward as you choose. The only way to make a comeback is to go on. 99% of successes in the world is built on former failures. One thing that failure proves is that someone at some point stopped talking and did something that brought that mistake. From that mistake, if the person learns, then he or she can move forward. But when we stop talking and we do something, we actually have results. There is an unknown author who once wrote, and he said, success is failure turned inside out. It is the silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be there when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you are hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. Whether the course, everybody has made so much noise about the course. You are going to this level, and then you have to take chemistry, so you take social course. It does not mean that you should fail. When it seems hard, hang in, and you will succeed. Failure, I say, can be a blessing unto you. I do not know what setbacks you may have as you sit down before me tonight. Each and every one of us, whether you're a student, whether you're a worker, but I stand before you today to say better days are ahead if we don't give up. So hang in with God and believe in your dreams. If you remember the story of Abraham Lincoln, who today Americans celebrate, there is hardly any election that comes up since I've tried to monitor elections that you don't find candidates who are vying for the presidency not talking about Abraham Lincoln. Yet this was a man who failed so many times at his shot at presidency before he became president. He only became president, he's only been talked about today because he did not give up all those times that he failed. He held on. You have not and will not fail because you are holding on or trying to get it right. Failure, remember, is about almost making it, but giving up. Success is about almost giving up, but holding on. The choice is always ours. Whatever those grades are, please trust God to help you as you keep working at it to turn it around for good. If you work hard, you can turn it around. If you stay long at your books, you will succeed. Thomas Edison is the one who invented the bulbs that we use for electric bulbs today. Over 100 times he failed at his attempt to invent the bulb and make it work. But he didn't give up. After 100 times his partner said to him, "This is not worth it." But Thomas Edison said, we have not failed 100 times. We have only seen 100 times how it will not work. And as they held on, eventually they were able to produce. Till today, we have it, that is the bulbs, and though we have it in different versions and shapes and sizes, it is still the same principle that lights the bulb, electricity, and whatever you have in it. I also would like to share with you the story of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. When this church was to come into existence, it came as a result of people who came together. William Miller, to be precise, who studied the prophecies in the book of Daniel, and says, hey, by October 1844, Jesus will come again. And so he started teaching the message. He went from place to place. People started believing and hearing one by one. All of a sudden, it became that perhaps these people might be right. So many people joined the movement. Scoffers, those who had laughed before, the closer the date came, the more people joined, hoping that, or out of anxiety or fear, that if Jesus should come that day, I will not be able to say I didn't know about it. And so they joined, but at the end of the day, October 22 came, 1844, it passed, and Jesus did not come. Many people laughed at them. If you Google the name of William Miller, they will tell you that he is a prophet of doom, some encyclopedias. A man who wrote and prophesied that Jesus would come at a date, and he never came. But you see, after people laughed, there were those who said, we knew it wouldn't happen. And so they left the movement. There were those who felt, if so person is leaving, then I will leave too. But there were some who held back and said, God could not have made a mistake. So if it wasn't right, we probably are the ones that didn't get it right. All that had to happen was they had to study more, and Ellen White says that it became evident that the cleansing of the sanctuary meant Jesus entered into the heavenly sanctuary on that date, not that he was to come physically to the earth. That mistake in interpreting the scriptures brought about a setback. But because some people stayed on, they were able to push through. Today, the SDA Church is in over 190 countries of the world. From that, after that 1844 experience, and I'm saying it pays to hold on and never be afraid of making mistakes. Never give up, because you might just be closer to your success story if you hang in. The blessed side of failure is that you are never idle or rusty. If you fail and you are not idle, then it means you are working. In trying hard to overcome your failure, you are sharpening your skills and talents until you reach the ultimate goal, which is success. Mistakes come from taking risks. Risks are the blind plunge we take into the unknown. If we never took those risks or plunge, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Some of us are here today because you just decided, I'll take the risk. Yes, to Babcock I will go. Some of us have heard it is not the best of place to be. Maybe because you won't be able to go out, you won't be able to eat this, you won't be able to eat that. But you still took the risk. And if you take that risk, it will take you somewhere. If we never took the risk, we wouldn't have been here. So take a plunge and expect to swim to the other side, because when you hold on, you will get there. One of the risks we take in life is marriage. We plunge into marriage hoping it turns out right. I have not seen one man who saw through to the other side of marriage completely before he or she went into it. Somehow we always trust God that with God on my side, with this and this and this, I should be able to make it. So if you work hard at it, it will work. If it is not working, it's probably because we are not working hard at it. When I had to marry, I took a plunge. My friends told me, how can you go and marry at this time? We are all still very young. What's all the rush about? But I decided I was going into it, and I took the risk. And I tell you, 14 years after, I have traveled the distance. And the funny thing is, all my friends who said, why are you getting married so quickly? Where are you rushing to? Today, they are also married. When they got married, all the monies they thought we would make before we get married, we actually found that it doesn't really work like that. You marry because you have found someone that you love. Someone that you think you can live the rest of your life with. So, don't be afraid to take a plunge, I say. Arise and take that plunge. Those who said, wait. Today,